So we're just going to look at a little concept we call hunt the jump, and the name gives it away a bit. We want the horse to seek out the jump, seek out the obstacle we want him to do. Obviously I've done it with this horse before, so it's not going to be like starting right from the beginning, but as much as possible I want to show you the steps. So we'll kind of rush through it a little bit. As you see over here, we've got these barrels, and I like to use barrels to start with because I can do this. I can separate them to have a horse go through the center. And the purpose of them going through the center is to, number one, find the center of the obstacle. So we'll get to smaller and smaller obstacles, but we always want them to try and find the center. So this is the way we're going to set that up. And number two, we'll make it easy for them to find the answer, which is to get to the other side. Now, in the beginning, that could be a problem for some horses, and we may have to open those barrels right up, as wide as it is necessary. But right now I've got them hopefully wide enough to where he's not going to jump, and he'll just find his way through the center, which is kind of how it all starts to begin with. And then a long pause on the other side, a lot of rest on the other side. And then back through again, a lot of rest on the other side. And you'll do that 4, 6 times pretty quick. The horse will go, I know where the point is where I need to get to, and I know how to get there. And then we move on. So the idea here is that I'm able to send him out and to find the center. Well done, my friend. And then leave him alone. Now this is where in the beginning it gets a bit time consuming, because I would spend a good amount of time not doing anything right now. I'd spend a good amount of time allowing him to process, find comfort on this side, really let him know that that was exactly the right thing to do. He went right through the center, perfect. He went on through, yielded his hindquarters, turned, wanted him to turn face, and obviously wait for further instructions. And in this case, just relax, just relax. So depending on how difficult that was for a horse, it would depend on how long you wait. Now, I'll just send him through again here. Just maybe back him up a little bit first. Pause. Redirect that nose, send him through. Oh. Well, that's what happens when you get him, when you're not too accurate, I guess. You send them too far. Now, one thing to consider is if you have a horse that's finding it difficult to get through and it's a bit of a squeeze for them, you might want to open it up, obviously. But let's say it was a bit difficult and they kind of finally got through. I wouldn't make a big deal out of yielding those hindquarters. So they might rush through a little bit anxious. That's not ideal. It's not really what we want. We would set this up as an advance and retreat to where that didn't happen, going backwards and forwards and releasing when they go forwards, waiting, allow them to try, and then take them back and try again. But if that did happen, the thing I wouldn't do is yield his hindquarters, because I don't want to link any type of pressure with the activity of going over or through the barrels. So only when they can do it confidently am I really concerned about yielding the hindquarters and having them turn and face. So he does it reasonably confidently now. So he goes through or over, and a little miscue there, over, and I yield the hindquarters, he turns, he faces me, and he waits. But if he rushed through and he just kept on rushing here, so he kind of rushes through, all I'd do is I'd just walk in this direction. Now he might circle around me a couple of times, but eventually what's going to happen is he's going to file in behind me, and I've just taken pressure off him. Okay, and I've walked way away from the obstacle, and I'll wait till everything relaxes before I come back to do this again. Okay, so that would be my starting point. So the first part was more about confidence and understanding, and those two things are very strongly linked. The second part really is, can I have him maintain gait through the obstacle to work his way to the other side? So if I send him at a trot, can he maintain the trot all the way through? And then we can yield down. Now, when you can do that, obviously going both ways, and a big pause here, and by now he should be confident, then I'll simply start doing this. And this will happen incrementally, so it'll happen little by little until you get to the point where it's actually kind of hard for them to go between. They want to go to the other side. You've taught them that's where the answer is, that's where the release is, so they're really happy to get there. But it's getting harder and harder to go through because the gap's getting more and more narrow. And if you time this right and you don't make the request too early, you'll get to a point where the horse will naturally just go over to the other side. Okay, so they just go over. And we're not starting with anything too large, obviously. So we're not starting with a big, a tall obstacle or anything like that. So we do this, and this happens, you know, we do this multiple times. Usually takes me quite a long time to get those barrels together, but obviously we're speeding it up for this little video. So we'll come along here. And again, I'll say, hey, find the gap. And he did a pretty good job of finding the gap. He might find the gap this time, but find going between the barrels is harder, okay? Usually I'd give him a longer rest here, but it's for the benefit of this video. Are you ready, my friend? Find the gap, go! Oh, we slightly missed the gap, but what do you know, we went over. So, you get to a point and they jump it. Now, if I'm starting out with horses, what I've just showed you already, that could take days. I might spend days just passing between, building their confidence. It depends on the horse. Some horses are already very confident. You know, the ones that will go over things and they jump this high, not confident. Okay, it's not because they love jumping. The ones that are very confident and they go over things and they do this type of thing and pull it out under their belly and just trying to make a big mess out of it, well, they need a bit more impulsion to perform well and get themselves over. But in actual fact, what they're showing you is they're very confident. All right, so there'll be a great trail riding horse with that sort of performance to crawl over everything. But what we, of course, want is for them to jump. So we want confidence and we want maintaining gait with the hindquarter yield at the other side. And interesting enough, if you keep repeating those things, you bring their energy up, you yield their hindquarters, bring their energy down, what you're actually doing is shortening the flight line of your horse. Interesting, isn't it?